And then Paul cried out with a loud voice, "Do not kill yourself. We're still here." This is Acts 16, verse 28 of the Bible. So what's happening in this verse? So before this, Paul and Silas were actually thrown into jail. This is Acts 16. And what had happened was that there was a slave girl in Acts 16:16. While they were walking through Macedonia, they met this slave girl, and she was overcome by divination, right? And because she had the spirit of divination, what had happened was that this slave girl was making a lot of money with fortune telling and all of that on behalf of the slave masters. So when Paul and Silas came, the girl kept on saying, "These are the children of the Most High God. They were sent by God," and so on. And it became very irritating for Paul, right? And being an apostle, after several days of this girl just continuing saying the same thing over and over, following them around, Paul immediately, knowing that this is divination, cast that demon out and said it must come out of this girl. And immediately the demon came out of this girl. And this meant that she was no longer of any worth to the slave masters. So they were persecuted, they were kicked around, and they were shoved into a jail. And because God wanted to use them for a purpose by putting them in jail, right? It was so that a jailer, a Phillipi jailer, would be able to take Jesus as his Lord and Savior. All right. And thereafter, that same jailer later on would then, introduce Jesus to his family, and they take Jesus as their Lord and Savior. But what happens before that is that while they're still in jail, this guy is supposed to be, making sure that they don't run away or whatever. And then out of nowhere, this loud earthquake just shakes everything, right? And shakes everything so badly that all of the chains that they had in their hands and, everything that tied them down, all of those chains, they just broke. And the doors opened from the jail, and everything was just like, they could have run away, right? But because of the work that they were doing for God, they knew that there was a purpose why all of this was happening. And the jailer wakes up, right? And he finds out that, oh my gosh, everything is open, the doors are open. And because of the time, what happens is that when you do something, or when something is supposed to be your responsibility, especially as a jailer, as a guard, and you fail, the honorable thing is to take your own life. Immediately, this guy takes his sword and he's about to unalive himself. And then Paul shouts with a loud voice, "Do not kill yourself. We're all here." And do you know what is significant about that? Is that sometimes you will find yourself in a situation where you feel as though the odds are so against you, and everything is so bad to the extent where you feel like there is no way out. Mental health is such a huge thing, and we forget that most of what is happening in our brain is the stuff that the devil is trying to tell us about ourselves that is incorrect. So when this guy is ready to off himself, they say, "Dude, it's not that bad." The English Standard Version says, "Do not harm yourself." But to be quite honest, what it actually is supposed to mean is do not kill yourself, because he was about to fall on his own sword. Just like the Romans do and how they did it in Shakespearean time. You fall on your own sword. It's the noble, honorable thing to do when you've actually done something wrong, or when something was your responsibility and you were not able to take care of it. But Paul is trying to show this person that God has mercy. And things may look bad on the outset, but God's mercy, part of God's mercy is that it shows us that there's another way. There is another reason perhaps why things are not going the way that you expected them to go. There's another reason why things are going badly, because if Silas and Paul did not come because of the mission of converting people into Christianity and following Jesus, they could have just run away. But they knew what their mission was. They got there for a reason. They were in prison for a reason. And therefore, this jailer right now needs to see God's mercy for himself, so that he knows that there are things on the other side of a bad situation. So I hope somebody takes this little bit that I have taught today about do not kill yourself. We're all here. Things are not that bad. Things are not as terrible as you think they are. It may be the devil playing tricks on you, trying to make it seem as though there is no way else. There's no way out. But when you think of it, actually stepping back and you're thinking, actually, it's not that bad. Maybe the situation is like this so that God can show himself through the situation in your life. I hope this made sense, and I hope you stay blessed.